Do you feel that a person from those whole food sources, because we know bottled oils and so on is not what we want, do you feel that in that range of taking about 15% of your energy calories for the day from fat is adequate, or do you think more is necessary than 10 to 15% of total energy needs?
I definitely think 10% is going to is more increased risk of heart disease, irregular heartbeat, and neurological deficit. I think these low-fat diets advocated by some leaders in the plant-based community, they don't really have the patient experience. Almost all these people who are advocating, these nutritional gurus that are so famous, are just researchers. They just, and they don't really have a broad patient experience. And I think that and then I'm dealing with most of these people who don't do well, and they really can't even go to those people to see them as a problem, with medical conditions that we're seeing. So in any case, yes, I've seen. So I think 10% of calories from fat gets too many people into trouble.
And 15 works?
Yes, 15 to 25 is more reasonable, Okay. And I don't think a person has to worry about whether they're 15 to 25 or 15 to 30, as long as they're not in a favorable weight, because calories do count. I always say half of what we eat feeds our needs, and the other half feeds the needs of our doctors, because the average American is consuming like 3,600 calories a day, when even in rural China, the average caloric consumption is around 1,600 a day. So it's not people thinking, oh, how could I say half of what we eat? But it's amazing how many calories people are putting down so calories, when you're eating such an excessive amount of calories, do matter. And what makes eating this healthy way of eating that we eat, that I call a Nutritarian diet, so effective, is it makes you satisfied with the right amount of calories. So you can eat instinctually. When your diet is deficient in nutrients and your body is now full of metabolic wastes and external exogenous toxins as well.
Well, let's go there. Let's go there, because there's a part of that I want to discuss with you. I know that, and I feel the same way. Phrases like plant-based were never good enough for me, because, and things, the nebulousness of things like vegan and plant-based, because there's so many things that could come under that umbrella that are refined and processed and debilitating and devastating.
Or imbalanced, all these crazy.
Yes, but that led you to coin the phrase Nutritarian and to create kind of a system that's centered around what I gather are 4 basic principles. And I want to just mention those, and then I'd love for you to explain them a little bit to the audience so they get a bigger vision of the program you're talking about. So I know the first principle with Nutritarian is foods that have the greatest nutrient density, and these are whole plant foods that have the greatest nutrient density. But then you have to also deal with what you call nutritional adequacy, hormone stability, and then exposure to toxic elements. So I know that encompasses kind of more of that whole Nutritarian system. So for our viewers, can you spend a little time explaining that, the dynamic of that whole gestalt, if you will?
Right. I'd like people to memorize a few words here. The 5 words that form one of the basic principles are the factors that have the most scientific support to slow aging, which is moderate caloric restriction, not maximum caloric restriction or advanced, just moderate caloric restriction, just undershooting your calories by a little bit in the context of micronutrient excellence. So those are the 5 words: moderate caloric restriction with micronutrient excellence. And I'm saying is when you achieve micronutrient excellence, you're satisfied with the right amount of calories. And that's why we're trying to look at the micronutrient density of a diet. And the second thing I want people to write down and memorize is this statement. I'll read the whole statement. I'll tell them the part I want to memorize. The whole statement is, more than 200 studies corroborate each other, showing that raw vegetables have the most consistent and powerful association with the reduction of cancers of all types. So here's what a part I want to memorize. Here's the part. Raw vegetables have the most consistent and powerful association with the reduction of cancers of all types. So yes, we're encouraging people to eat a vegetable-based diet, not a grain-based diet, not a fruit-based diet, and not a meat-based diet, and not a processed food-based diet. But in any case, and we want nutritional variety. And just like the N over C, H equals N over C, your healthy life expectancy is proportional to the nutrient per calorie, the nutritional bang per caloric buck. It's also the case that the formula is there to show that when you live on foods that are high in calories with an insignificant nutrient load, like processed foods, and animal products and processed foods are both very low in micronutrients and absent in phytochemicals and antioxidants. In other words, their micronutrient load compared to their caloric load is imbalanced. So as you eat more of your diet from high calorie, low nutrient food, you age yourself, you set the groundwork for disease. So it's not just eating foods that are richest in nutrients, it's avoiding foods that give you calories with no significant nutrient load. That's the major factor there.
Yeah, you want the biggest bang for your buck, obviously, when you're eating, and that bang for your buck is the nutrient density.